Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning into this. Thank you for joining me. This is episode 3 of the A Voice from the Ever Change podcast, video series, in which I guide a meditation into silence, and then I read a poem and a commentary which I wrote. I read this from the book that I wrote, entitled A Voice from the Ever Change. The chapters in this book are one chapter on meditation, one chapter on loving kindness, one chapter on equanimity, one chapter on resting, and there's a chapter on gratitude, so forth. So I'm hoping that the topics in this book can bring some relief, some sense of peace to the world, to whomever is tuning in right now or catching the video on recording on my YouTube channel or on my website, so forth. So what I'll do is I'll ring the bell, I'll guide us into silence through meditation. And then in that silent space, I offer the poem, which I referred to. Today's poem is about settling into the present moment, the eternal present moment, and finding peace there. After the poem, I'll read the commentary. The commentary is also designed to bring one deeper into the meditation state, if you will. So you can just continue listening to the poem if you wish. During a meditation, you can continue meditating. Or you can just have a normal posture and just listen to the words. That's fine too. That will also have some benefit. Now, if any questions come up while you're listening to this or after the video live, if you're listening to this on recording, always feel free to message questions over. I'm doing a Q&A session chapter of this series every Sunday. I've gotten some really interesting questions so far, so do keep those coming in. Also, if you would like a PDF version, or the PDF rather, of A Voice from the Ever Change, I'm happy to send those out for free. Just message me your email address, and I'll send you a PDF copy of A Voice from the Ever Change so you can read along. Some people find that really beneficial. Although, I must admit, sometimes I do improvise when I'm reading. So there might be some slight differences. Okay. I think that's all I need to say about that. May all benefit. I hope you all enjoy. Thanks for tuning in. And here we go. Oh, it's meditation time. So allowing the body to rest, allowing the mind to rest. You don't need to do anything with your mind, just rest. And allowing the heart to rest, vast and open like the blue sky. And as you breathe in and breathe out, bringing awareness and attention to the breath as it enters and leaves the nose. There might be a dry or a cool sensation at the nose, or you might notice you're breathing in more air through one nostril over the other. Maybe, maybe not. And allowing awareness to expand to include the back of the throat, noticing the breath as it touches the back of the throat. You might simply notice the temperature changing from cooler to warmer as you inhale and exhale. And allowing awareness to expand to include the rib cage expanding and contracting with each breath. You might notice sensations of clothing moving to adjust with the rising and falling of the body as you inhale and exhale. There might also be sensations of shoulders rising and falling with each breath. You might notice the upper back moving out slightly as you breathe in and in as you breathe out. And as you inhale and exhale, allowing awareness to expand to include the abdomen rising and falling with each breath. And perhaps also noticing the lower back moving out as you breathe in as you breathe out. And breathing in and breathing out, you might also notice the body straightening up slightly on the in-breath and leaning forward slightly on the out-breath. And while resting in the present moment experience of breathing, you might also notice sensations of clothing resting against the shoulders, the arms resting against the body, the hands resting against the body or touching each other. There might be sensations of clothing resting against the back, the weight of the body against the chair or cushion. You might notice sensations of clothing against the legs, sensations of the feet against the floor or mat. And while resting with the breath and the body, bringing attention to the very top of the head, the crown of the head. You might notice a tingling or a cool sensation there. Noticing any sensations arising from the back of the head, the back of the neck, any sensations arising from the ears, allowing awareness to expand into the face, noticing sensations arising from the chin, the lips, the nose, the eyes, the forehead, and bringing awareness back to the top of the head. And while resting with the breath and body, you can also include into awareness any sounds which might be available during this present moment experience. Not focusing on any one sound in particular, but noticing the entire field of sound. Listening to the present moment as if you were listening to the universe orchestrate a symphony of sounds, the soundtrack of the present moment, if you will. And in addition to any sound, paying close attention to the quality of still silence. When you listen to the silent space, of the present moment, you might notice how that silence seems to permeate all of experience. And so we'll rest right there, maintaining awareness on the sensations of the breath, the body, sound, and silence. And just rest, resting into this present moment experience. And if at any time during the meditation you discover you're distracted by your thoughts, that's okay, that's normal. Simply label the thinking process with the word thinking. That will allow the thoughts to go, and you can gently return back to the present moment. The poem. When we rest with the breath, past and future become simple boundaries imposed upon the eternal present. Just rest. Allow thoughts to subside and notice. Memories arise as present moment experience. Plans also arise as present moment experience. Sounds are now. Sensations are right now. Is there any experience that is not right now? The commentary. According to the modern scientific worldview, at the beginning of time there was only energy, which somehow amassed together. Then bang! An explosion from out of nothingness which brought material forth into creation. Form and emptiness, emptiness and form. Earth, along with countless other forms, were spun into the web of existence. Millions of years passed, and due to an infinite number of causes and conditions coming together in just the right way, with just the right amount of material, the right amount of sunlight, the right amount of oxygen, the right amount of water, the right amount of safety in the environment, single-celled organisms began to spawn. Millions of years after that, these single-celled organisms began to join together, and again, through the most unlikely combination of countless causes and conditions, multi-celled organisms, such as fish, were born. Many hundreds of thousands of years after this, due to various unknown forces in nature, causes and conditions infinitum, certain fish began to develop lungs and legs. Many more hundreds of thousands of years passed, and from these fish, the first humanoids began walking the earth. Out of the creative survival drives, needs, and instincts of these first humanoids, fire was discovered and harnessed. and the cleansing power of water was being investigated. The need to express oneself through various forms of creativity and art was being felt and pursued. Language was born. Religions and belief structures began to take flight. Over the course of the next several 100,000 years, humans learned how to speak, identify, count and label items, create medicines, farm, and eventually do math. Forms of commerce were developed, and symbolic thought and philosophy cultivated. Settlements turned into villages, which turned into towns, which eventually gave way to cities and countries. Fast forward several hundred years to your great-grandfather. Meeting a mate through an arrangement of their parents, perhaps in a faraway country. And out of this unlikely meeting, your grandmother was born. At some point early in your grandmother's life, she was displaced by war, and through that tragic event, she meets your grandfather. Your grandparents work hard in their new country to build a life so that their children, your father, might have a better life than the one that they knew. Your father grows up playing baseball, enjoying this new music they call rock and roll, and occasionally visiting the drive-in movies. The latter of these experiences become your father and mother's first date. Some years later, you are cast into the story of your parents, taking your first gasps of breath, eating your first meal, seeing your first colors, and dreaming your first dreams. As you grow, you collect images, ideas, words, thoughts, and philosophies from countless sources and influences, which you then combine with your name and an image of what you think you look like to others, and your personality is born. Fast forward a few years, and through millions, literally millions of causes and conditions, you are here right now, listening to these words. And guess what? Everything from the story that I just told happened right now, in this very present moment. All of this and much, much more happened right now. Now you may think to yourself, what? How could that be? I don't have any memory of that, nor do I have any knowledge of my great-grandparents, much less walking fish. But follow the logic through. All of the millions of causes and conditions which led to this very present moment are needed to create what is happening right here and right now. Each ingredient integral to the outcome of just this moment. If one of these happenings occurred in a slightly different way, the life that you inhabit now, if it existed at all, would be quite different. If any one of these occurrences was just incrementally different in any of those or countless other causes and conditions, you probably would not even be alive, let alone listening to this talk right now. Since all of these causes and conditions are connected and dependent on each other for their very existence, isn't that really just the same way of saying it's all a part of the same event, all a part of what is happening right now? Isn't each moment of the story an integral part of just this? The first pitch thrown in a baseball game, the second inning, the seventh inning stretch, the winning home run, the national anthem, they're all a part of the same sporting experience, are they not? When did the baseball game cease? Was it after you stood up from the seats? After you left the bleachers? Was it on the drive home? Or perhaps after you fell asleep? There is no clear moment when one event stops and the other starts. It is only in our mind do we draw such distinctions. It is just the human tendency to divide experience up into separate events, some good, some bad, some exciting, some boring, with clear lines defining the beginning and the end of each event. This gives us our experience of time. Certain events are painful, stressful, or filled with struggle. During these events, our manufactured experience of time seems to move rather slowly. You can verify this for your own experience. Opposing that, when we are enjoying or in acceptance of the flow of events, time moves very swiftly. But at the end of the day, we know time because we do not experience life free from the imaginary lines which divide, compartmentalize, and solidify separate occurrences into divided, different, and distinctive events. The boundaries we place in between events creates our experience of time and a false sense of separation between minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, and lifetimes. What if we could experience life in complete embrace of all of the millions of factors which caused and created this very moment? What if we lived rooted in the awareness that whatever I do, say, think, speak, and act right now will change the factors, causes, and conditions throughout the world, not only for myself and my loved ones, but for millions and millions of people for many, many years to come. Rest in this moment. Just rest. At this moment, you don't need to solve any problems. You don't need to make anything happen. There is no effort in this moment. Simply rest. Notice the sounds of now. The sound of the air conditioning or heater, the sound of the cicadas, the sound of the bird song, the sound of my voice. Notice the canopy of silence which surrounds the present moment. There is no effort in listening. Simply open and rest in the experience of listening. Just rest. Feel the clothing against your shoulders. Notice the arms against your body and the hands touching each other or resting against the legs. You might also notice sensations of clothing moving across the abdomen and chest as you breathe. Also notice the weight of the body against the chair, mat, cushion, couch, or floor. Sensations of clothing against the legs. Notice the feet against the mat or the floor. You may also notice the breath entering and leaving the body through the sensations at the nose. Notice the breath touching the back of the throat, the rise and fall of the chest and abdomen. Notice the back moving in and out, and the shoulders rising and falling slightly with each breath. And now a thought might arise. That thought is also a part of this experience. Memories might arise. That is fine, as long as we recognize with awareness that the memory is also right now. It is fine to remember nice times, good times, bad times. You know I've had my share. As long as we don't get swept away in chasing those memories, lamenting past regrets or ruminating how it should have been, we can remember the past and still feel the clothing on our skin, the weight of the body in the chair, the breath entering and leaving the body. We can be present with remembering. Memories are always present moment experience. Perhaps during meditation, the to-do list starts. It's very common. Oh, I have to go to the grocery store. I have to buy soap or peanut butter, coffee or yogurt. Then I have to make sure I remember to send out that email. Oh, I'm thinking. Label this process as thinking, and then return to the present moment of the sounds, body, and breath. If your meditation practice is consistently plagued with planning, to-do lists, or thoughts of the future, also very common, set aside a time during the week where you do just that. So, for example, Tuesdays from 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m., I make lists and plans. Then, when I'm meditating and the mind habitually runs into the future to decide where to go next weekend, don't go anywhere while we're in quarantine, making plans of the future, I can remind myself, oh, I don't need to do that now. I can do that on Tuesday. I'm meditating now. Those plans are important and deserve to be honored, but we don't need to sacrifice our valuable meditation time to do that. This way, the mind can more easily rest in the meditation, knowing that there is a time and a place to plan for whatever needs planning. Then, when Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. arrives, honor that time. When sitting in the chair, feel the chair against the body. Feel the clothing on the skin. Feel the breath entering and leaving the body. Open the computer. Feel the keys underneath the pads of your fingers as you type. Be in the present moment with the planning. Make the planning itself into a mindfulness exercise. We can still be in the present moment while planning a future event. We just don't get swept away into daydreams about the future any longer. Thoughts like, I hope the weather will be sunny and the hotel is as nice as it looks on the website, do not serve us in the planning stages. When planning, just plan. When packing, just pack. When eating, just eat. If the mind becomes distracted, that is fine too. Simply recognize the distraction and let it go, gently bringing your awareness and attention back to the task at hand. When we fill this present moment with mindful awareness, that predicates the next moment, and it is more likely that you will continue being mindful. Allow for mindfulness, compassion, loving kindness, equanimity, and joy to be this present moment. In this allowance, you will predicate the next moments and the moments after that, sending out ripples of wondrous energy, not only for yourself, but for countless other beings throughout countless causes and conditions for eternity. And so for those of you who are just tuning in or came in late, or this is perhaps the first episode you're catching, I am reading from my latest book, A Voice from the Everchange. Again, happy to send out PDFs of that for free. Just send me your email address. That was poem and commentary number 3. So I'm going in order of the book like that. And as a way of bringing each episode to the close, I try to just improvise a little bit of wisdom pertaining to the current situation of this horrible, horrible coronavirus situation. And, you know, I too, like most of you all, peruse Facebook and Instagram from time to time. And I know there are a couple of schools of thought on the closings of the governments, the closings of the cities and towns and states and countries. And you might disagree with somebody, but you can still love them as a person, as a human. This, right now, is of paramount importance that we come together as a human race. Now, certain governments, certain politicians, certain presidents, who I won't name, like to point fingers or like to charge their speeches with racial slurs. Don't fall into that trap. The healing power of love, the healing power of equanimity, the healing power of joy and compassion, those forces will serve us greatly as we recover from this virus. And so what I propose is each time I hear a politician, or each time I see a posting on Facebook pushing hate rather than love, I push back with love. If I see a politician calling this COVID-19 the China virus, I send loving kindness to my brothers and sisters in China. If I see a posting condemning a certain group, blaming, pointing fingers, I send loving kindness to both the group being blamed and the one pointing the finger. And so I'm not suggesting that anybody here listening do that. That's my own creative answer. I encourage you all to find your own voice of loving kindness. But please do find a voice. As Burt Bacharach once wrote, "What the world needs now is love, sweet love." And so with that, I will close. I hope you all will join me tomorrow for my next episode of A Voice from the Everchange. And if you've missed one, they're all on my Instagram and on my YouTube, and I hope to be updating my website over the weekend, so perhaps they'll be on my website by next week as well. By the way, the website is www.suchsweetthunder.org. There's about 90 guided meditations there, and they're all for free. Plenty of resources, articles that I've had published, and so forth. So do access the website. It's a great resource for healing, for mindfulness, for loving kindness, compassion, and so forth. Thanks again. Much metta, much metta, much metta.